Welcome to the Quicksilver Adventuring League. I actually haven't posted in a while because I've actually been working on a side project where I've been building out a lot of subclasses. But today I kind of want to do a high level, getting back into the swing of things. I want to do a little high level of my thoughts on the player's handbook and the new DMG as well. The first thing that I really like about the new books is going to be kind of silly, but it's a big deal for me and the older crowd out there. But the index, I love the change in the font size. I can actually read it without having to go get reading glasses because I think they, made it to where you actually had to get a magnifying glass in the original 2014 book. But it's hard on your eyes. But the new book is much better and easier to read, and I can just open it and look at it. And whoever made that decision, please keep on the payroll. But it's a good decision. Thank you very much. Another change that this one I'm not a fan of, and it's on the base level, like the font size, but the binding of the books. Like if you look at my 2014 here, the back of the book binding it's got this little notch in it. I am not an expert on binding. Don't know if that has a name. Probably does, but don't know what it is. But I keep this book and I've abused it for years, and I will just leave it open for long periods of time. And if you look right here, it looks pretty solid still, and it'll sit there for hours like this. I have had my new book for 2 months, maybe 2 months. And if you look at the back, it's bowing out here. If you see on the camera, it's actually angled out versus the other one. This notch on the front side is no longer present on the back side. And when you open it up, I get this nice big opening here where the other book didn't do this. And so my binding is already falling apart, and I just leave it open like this for same hours on end sometimes when I'm looking up something. And if this is maybe just a bad book, that's on me and I can get another one. But if this is the binding quality across the line, yeah, not a fan, because I still like hardcover books because I do like to collect them. I have many up here, and there's more off camera over there, but I like digital copies of things, but I also like to have a hard copy, and this one's falling apart already. Another thing that kind of bothers me, I made a short about this, about find familiars. The actual find familiar spell in 2024 is a lot like the 2014, where, you can summon a, small animal, an owl, a ferret, pick your small animal. But for some reason in the 2024 image right above it, it shows like an owl in a top hat and like a green squirrel, and mentions in the little subtext there that the caster can choose how their familiar looks and give them a little flair. But that is not mentioned in the actual spell verbiage at all for some reason. So they left that out. And we all know that when it makes it online, it's only going to be the verbiage, and that little flair piece is not going to be included. That it was one sentence. It could have been and should have been included in the actual verbiage of the spell, so that when it does make it online and we just have the verbiage of the spell, that nice little flair piece, because I think that's an amazing addition. I think the picture does it justice, but that should have been in the verbiage. After that, I love the organization of the new books. It's much more organized and easier to find what I need than the originals ever were. Another thing I like about these books is, and this is for the player's handbook specifically, but I like the way they change the feats up. I'd like to see feats at level 1 and the general feats in the middle, and then I like having the epic boon there at the end for those of us that actually make it to the high level play. I also like the addition of masteries for weapons. It's a nice add-on. Another thing that I like as a DM is all of the additional information for beginners. I don't need it any longer, and a lot of DMs out there don't need it any longer, but people trying to get into the profession for DMs could use it. And for the most part, I'm definitely included in this camp, but I think most DMs probably learned from somebody else and nowadays watch YouTube videos. But I know it's doable, but picking up the book and just deciding to become a DM with a bunch of inexperienced players, that is not the norm. I also like the idea of some of the tracking sheets they have in there. Now, I'm not a big fan of all of them, but I do like the idea of them. Like, for example, some of my players, just journaling, for example, they're not going to use a sheet. Some of mine actually will use a Google Doc on their phone and just type it all in there. Another one likes to bring a hardback journal and actually keeps notes that way, just old school pen and paper. And so a specific sheet, or, printing out several of them and putting them in a binder or something, is not necessarily what my players are going to do. I actually use OneNote when I'm running games. So I actually have a OneNote set up to the campaign, and then I will have a note. I'll have the subject will be the campaign name, the date, and then I start taking notes throughout. Now I just do quick little, few second blurbs because I don't want to be staring at the computer and typing for 2, 3 minutes while my players are, tapping their feet waiting for me. But yeah, I take fairly decent long notes in OneNote, just short form format, like 5 words, 10 words, something just quick type to help me remember, throughout the night what went on so that next week I can refresh my memory and now, oh yeah, that happened, or oh yeah, that happened. That's how I personally like to do it. I like to do it electronically. One change that I'm kind of actually indifferent about is the moving of the ability scores to backgrounds instead of the race/species. This is generally just something that happens during character creation, which is going to be 30 minutes to an hour for each character. Where it's located, I don't care. If it's in the background or if it's on the species, I'm fine either way, just so long as if it's going to be part of the game mechanic that, it ends up on the final character when we get started at level 1. Another thing that I feel is still lacking in the books and the new subclasses is just for me, like for rogues, rangers, paladins too, the martial classes. I wish they had some bow-centric subclasses. I made a few of my own. They're going to be on that Patreon I mentioned, but the right now they really just have the feats, the archery styles, but they don't have a range. There's the hunter ranger, but it's really not the same. It doesn't have a bow focus. But I really wish they had made some, just you see them in all over literature and movies. I mean, why couldn't we have a bow focused subclass as a core in the books? Another thing that it's bothered me since 2014, the original 5e as well. But I think the subclasses are, I think in general, are too combat focused. Me and my group, and I know there's other groups out there, and we like a mix. And I know that definition of mixed combat and role playing is, a moving target. But I'm sure there are people who love the role playing aspect much more than us. But then there's definitely people who love the combat focused portion of the game. But the subclasses tend to be very, very combat focused. And I'd like to see some more role playing options. And I know there's going to be some subclasses out there that have it, but I would like to see it more prevalent. We like to actually, role play a majority of it. We might get a combat encounter in maybe once out of every 2 or 3 sessions, and that's just right for us. Combat's fun, but also, just infiltrating a party or, doing role playing focused things and not having to spend a feat on it to be able to get those extra skills would be nice. And I personally think that we're kind of doing a disservice to the community by not having more role playing centric focused abilities within our subclasses and classes. I think my biggest takeaway from what I've seen so far is that it's not new, it's different, but it's not a new game. It's just a tweak of what we already had. So and I can't wait to see the monster manual to see how that if that changes anything dramatically. But right now, I don't think it will, since they want to make it backwards compatible. I don't see any significant changes, but it's just some tweaks to what we already had. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you found this both informative and useful. I'm going to put a link to a couple of other videos I have here, and while I'm getting back into the swing of things and moving on with more of my projects. But yeah, feel free to hit the links up in the description and like and subscribe to the video. And thanks for watching. Have a good one and see you next time.